What's up, fam? The National Association of Realtors just came out with an article talking about how the government shutdown has now started to impact other housing markets outside of DC. And I think it's very prevalent that we talk about it in today's video because I have seen the impacts myself, and it's one of those things that we need to communicate not only with sellers but buyers in this real estate market right now. And I think it's very imperative that we talk about some of the trends that we're seeing according to the association, but also talking about some of the things that I've seen across the marketplace in the last 30 days while this has become now the longest government shutdown in United States history. My name is Craig Houston. I'm with the Moving in Norfolk team, and if this is your first time joining us, I want you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so that way you can always be the first to learn about any and everything taking place in the Hampton Roads market. And I get phone calls and text messages from viewers just like you each and every week, so feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so that way you can be the first to learn about any and everything taking place in the Hampton Roads market. So let's talk about exactly what's going on right now with the government shutdown. Right now, there's a budget crisis going on that we're seeing both sides of the aisle actually, try to stand their ground about the government shutdown. Now, this is starting to impact not only government workers and employees, but this is also starting to impact federal funding as well too. Now, in this video, what I want to do and highlight is some of the things that I've seen coming across the board when it comes to helping both buyers and sellers selling their homes and purchasing homes in the Hampton Roads market. But first, let's talk about what the National Association of Realtors has already discussed and put out there that we could also talk about. And I'll leave the article link down below in the description so you can check it out as well. We're seeing federal agencies like the National Flood Insurance Program actually be held up in helping FHA and VA loans actually get coverage for flood insurance as well too, and get flood certifications. So we've now seen one of these agencies that's very impactful in the United States across the mortgage industry be impacted about how much assistance that they can actually provide and actually getting information over. Now, this can also delay closings for buyers and both sellers. Now, one of the other things that's actually depicted in this is also talking about how veterans or active duty service members are now seeing their actual wages to be impacted alongside DoD government employees as well, which makes this a little bit harder for them to understand where the next income is actually coming from, even though right now their income is guaranteed on the backside of the government shutdown actually ending. Now, one of the things that can actually impact us a little bit more is that if you don't know where your next funding is coming from or your next income, it can also make it where you're a little bit more worrisome about actually completing a home transaction because you don't want to miss your first payment that automatically can invest into immediate foreclosure, or you're going to be into a hardship. So I can see why buyers are now being a little bit more hesitant in the market, and NAR actually acknowledges that we're seeing this a little bit more taking place in the marketplace. Now, I want to give you this from my example, so what I've seen in the marketplace, because real time in Hampton Roads, you need to know exactly what is going on and what's taking place. So one of the things that I've seen lately is that we've seen the housing market slow for listings. We're seeing inventory continue to increase, but we're seeing buyers being a little bit more hesitant about actually being in the market. And when you get to points like this, that leads to where you have to start deciding, is it really a good time right now to list your home or delay listing your home if you don't necessarily need to actually list your home right now. And for buyers, what we're seeing also is that buyers are now being a little bit more hesitant because they just don't know, like I said at the beginning of this video, where their next income could possibly be coming from, especially when you're in the heavy government sector market like we are. We're surrounded by DoD employees, we're surrounded by US military, we're surrounded by agencies that actually work for the government through contracts, and if they don't have any work to do or assignments to give, then those things just happen to get delayed. So what we're also seeing is that when you have these employees that actually are being impacted by this to the degree that they are, it tends to lead to where you're starting to see listings start to prolong and sit a little bit longer. Even the listings that are in optimal conditions, that gives you the best bang for your buck, they start to sit a little bit longer, and we started to see that this actually impacts average days on market. When it impacts average days on market, what typically happens is buyers start to feel like, at this point in time, the ones that are shopping, they're saying, maybe it's something wrong with that house. There's just the impacts of sellers not being able to give concessions right now because they need every single dollar that they need. It's so many things that's actually triggered down effects of this market right now that you're going to continue to see. One of the things that I always talk about in preparation, which we talk about in other videos, is that you always want to be prepared for the worst. And this type of situation is one of those worst case scenarios, that if you don't have savings to execute deals, if you don't have the nest egg that you thought you did to actually refinance right now where the rates are lower, or get a HELOC right now so you can actually weather the storm. These are some of the things that people are doing or actually taking into consideration of doing as well. So as a homeowner, if you're considering selling, one of the things that I want you to do is make sure that you understand the timelines. Because right now, especially if you are a military employee and you're actually supposed to be PCSing, right now some PCS funding is on hold in a lot of cases. So with that even being the thing, you want to make sure that your funding is still available, and if it's not, take that into consideration as well. One of the other things that I also like to talk about is just knowing that if the timeline shifts, understand that everything else can move as well too. With homeowners now trying to sell their properties and move to other locations or relocate across the country, this tends to lead to where you can see home sales for contingency become more prevalent. And when they become more prevalent, what tends to happen is a lot of people get up in arms about taking an offer that's contingent on the sale of another property. I think right now we're going to continue to see that a bit more than we typically have before. And the reason why I think that is going to happen is because it's no way to guarantee what is really happening right now. So this is where you need to have a little bit more insight and forecast to say, you know what, we can do a first right of refusal, meaning when you say first right of refusal, that yes, Mr. Buyer, if you're the seller, we'll accept your offer, but it's only going to be contingent if we can do a first right of refusal, meaning that if for some odd reason another buyer continues to come by and see this property and they decide that it's the best property for them and they want to write us an offer, we'll give you a certain amount of period of time to get your home off the market and not contingent upon sale anymore, or we'll be okay with releasing from this property and accepting that new buyer's offer. Now, a lot of buyers, I've seen some come across the market where they don't see that as an optimal condition for them because they're worried about, if I put my house on the market and it sells, and then for some odd reason we haven't closed in time, then the seller can just pull out on me and actually move forward with another opportunity. Well, that is the risk, but also you got to know that I feel like we sometimes get a little emotional about these transactions, which is understandable because these are some of the biggest transactions that people are going to have in their life. But realistically, you just got to be able to talk through some of these things responsibly and reasonably. And I think that you can find an opportunity where everyone can succeed and win. But you really got to know that right now, the market is really shifting drastically a bit, I should say, because we just don't know if there's an end in sight just yet to this government shutdown. Now, one of the things I will say that could be a positive from this situation is the inventory is going to continue to increase. We don't know what the Fed is going to do right now. They're considering a 0.25 rate reduction again, or the Fed fund rate in December, which means that you're not going to see that impact in December. You'll probably see it just a little bit more if the market started to believe that that is actually going to happen. Now, if that really does happen, we could see a softer market in interest rate environment when it gets time for anything to happen with this government shutdown. So one of the things that I want you to do is always think about this. If you're a lister, you want to stay relevant in what's going on with the news. You want your agent to keep you updated on exactly what they're seeing from customer feedback of people actually doing showings, or even the fact that if you're having no showings right now, I don't think that means that price is usually the main culprit. See, in a regular fruitful market where we're seeing a lot of transactions, I would say price will usually be the impact here. But when you have other outside economic factors affecting home sales, I think you got to think about, is the price really the problem? And if you want to lower the price, can you really afford to lower the price? Because realistically, price reductions at some point means that you're giving away a fire sale. And if a lot of other people start to do the same thing, it can start to lead where people may think, oh, you know what, the economy is crashing. And that could be farther from the truth. We're still seeing good home valuations. We're still properties appraised for what they should appraise for. So I think you just got to know that right now we have some other extrinsic value layers added in right now that we did not account for before beginning of the month. So as we close out October, I really want you to consider where you are if you're a seller. Now, if you're a buyer, this is still one of those markets where a lot of people are still trying to get solid footing right now and find homes that make sense for them. But the buyer applications that we've seen pre-approved, that doesn't mean that they're out showing right now. So to me, what this means is you got to find your opportunities right now if you can afford to find your opportunities right now. If you have some savings and it's an opportunity for you to make a move in real estate, this is probably a good time to do it if you're thinking about it. If it's not right now, don't worry. There's still going to be other opportunities. But this right now is a buyer's market where we're seeing concessions can be had, but they still can come far few in between in this market as well, because just sellers are just not in a certain position in certain cases to assist, but also maybe not willing to do it because they don't know, they have so much uncertainty on the other end that they'll rather just hold out for the best deal possible in a lot of cases. So either way, we negotiate through all those things, and we help buyers and sellers get it done each and every day to the best of our ability. And we always want to make sure that we keep you informed and up to date on everything else that's going on in this market. If you found this helpful, definitely hit me with a like. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so that way you can always be the first to learn about any and everything taking place in the Hampton Roads, Virginia market. Now, one of the things that I will say, at any given time, feel free to give me a call or shoot me a text at 757-290-6303. And until the next time, I'll see you in the next video. Y'all stay safe. Peace.